So the big question people are asking me is, what design are you using to minimize the impact of the shed? So I'm going to go over some of my earlier designs and show you guys how to make some really cool stuff. Hello everybody, in today's video we're going to be talking about the outside storage shed and how that impacts burgage plots. So quickly, let's just discuss how gathering works on a veggie burgage plot. Before, they used to travel from the house to collect veggies, which is why long stringy plots like this were inefficient. They have to walk out, gather, walk all the way back to the house, and then rinse and repeat, going between the fields and the house over and over. Thus why you've seen some of my designs like the bender that optimize those things. Now that the drop-off point has been moved to this little veggie shack, things have changed. The first plot is removed for this. Let's talk about all the shapes and stuff that we can do to make much better veggie plots for you. So we're going to start with some really simple concepts. So what you have here is actually 3 corpse pits. So we'll be using corpse pits as a measuring system. So this is 3 corpse pits worth. 1 corpse pit yields you about 45 veggies or 45 apples. So this is yielding us close to 90 veggies, but it's inefficient in the way that it is collecting. However, all things said, it's still fine. It's just, you know, if you want to go crazy, I know some of us do. Let's talk about some of the things we can do to go crazy together. So the first thing that we're going to do is do the tried and true. Now, one of the things that you need to realize is that snap points in this game actually do follow a grid-like system, and you need to make sure that you are corner to corner within the map when you're placing these things down to have the best snap points. You can see it's a little askew from what I'm doing here. It can be. Once it crosses a certain angle, things get really weird. But this is what we're going to do, is we're going to do a classical bender. So a classic bender is simply just 6 corpse pits, put side by side like so. What you're then going to do is outline the whole thing with a road. Like that. Right? And then we're going to start removing a corner. So what we're doing here is we're reducing the travel size. So this is also a 3 corpse pit size plot. This is a 3 corpse pit size plot. The difference is the furthest point is here to the drop-off point, whereas the furthest point from the drop-off point here is only 1 corpse pit. Furthest drop point up here, 2 corpse pit, 1 corpse pit. So you can see already that you're going to have a massive efficiency in the movement of people, which means they're going to be able to harvest and collect veggies at a much quicker pace, meaning they can get back to work. Second, you can see I can get a sharp angle. This is due to being aligned correctly with the corners. If you do not align correctly with the corners, you do not get these sharp angles. Now the collection point, because of the change, is going to be right here. So ideally, if I could get it right around here, that'd be great. That's a little difficult to do, but I just wanted to kind of explain that. So there you go. That's a beautiful little plot we've made there. Now the real kicker is how much of the first plot has been removed for that shack. And so we are going to build these out, and we are going to see together in real time. Well, I guess not real time because you're watching this in the future. All right, this is a good one too. Perfect. So we're going to get those built out. So that is a classic bender. Now, I know a lot of you are probably wondering, well, what about the tried and true awesome Marlin Brando or the flexo? Well, let's do that. So the flexo is actually a very simplistic thing. We're gonna go a different route with this. So the flexo is, in theory, just a bender with a little bit of flair. All right. So you're gonna make a plot like this. That's beautiful. That's a beautiful thing right there. Now you can go the distance right here and go the distance right here. And what you're going to do is do that. So we add a little bit of room to the whole design. And this is the flexo. Essentially, this is the flexo design. But the same principle applies. And then we'll point here, trace it as far as we can. Sometimes you're going to have to lose a little bit of efficiency, and then snap it out. So you can see here, by losing a little bit of the corner, I get a really good point. So the collection point is going to be right here. So you can see that the furthest distance is around 1 corpse pit, but I have 3.5 corpse pits in here. So you see what I'm saying? Travel distance of 1 corpse pit for 3.5. Travel distance of, I guess you could argue that this is 2. 2. But you can see that the travel distance on a plot like this, 2 versus 1, you're getting a lot more efficiency of movement. We're going to build this bad boy out. but there's your flexo. So let's get these built and let's take a peek. All right, so we got both of these up. Well, bam, up. So you can see we got a big shave right there. So the benders, unfortunately, do lose a little bit of their room. And that does add to the whole quote-unquote efficiency conversation. They're a little different, though. You can see, like, this one is a little bit better. Maybe not, but you're still getting a pretty darn good return on that. But let's try the flexo. Look at the flexo. Barely anything lost. So I think I'm going to say that the flexo is now the superior one. So our pickup point is right here at the, I think it's actually right here. And we have all of this area, 3.5. This should yield, oh my God. Yeah, this should yield close to 150 veggies. And it's technically the same, just a little bit more space than this, which is yielding a third less, and has a lot of walking. I know people like the aesthetics of how Burgage plots should work, but, you know, the flexo really, it's like modern farming. The flexo really is cool. Another cool thing about doing designs like this is that you don't have to, you know, keep things totally like this. I still think that the benders are fine and dandy, and, you know, when you add these second houses, that's also sometimes can potentially change how things look. So this one is just a single family. It needs to be a double, but we got to wait for the whole thing to be constructed. That's a beautiful thing right there. So what's kind of cool about this is you've seen my other videos, right? Where I go into how Ox can plow 0.5 to 1 Morgan plots very efficiently. Right. So with something like this, you could, I think you could make this look both historical and cool. The two best combos in the world, right? So you could just take the strips and go down the line on this. Even 0.4 is okay. And then you can get your farming out. I think that the flexo is going to be my go-to. This part right here, you kind of actually want to avoid because that's the Ox is going to have a kind of a weird issue on that corner. But for the most part, you're looking at some cool stuff here. If you can get your strips out along the back sides of this, I think you're going to have a good time. 0.3. So that's just kind of what I'm thinking of. It's like, you know, you make your veggie plot. You can do the same thing like this with apples, but this is a modified flexo bender. The flexo is actually a little bit wider if you follow my Marlon Brando or flexo design, but this is just like an impromptu modification of the bender and flexo, and it works really well. But if you incorporate it, like I said, with strip farming like this, I think you're going to have something that looks actually fairly unique, because what you could do easily is place like a farmhouse here and here, right? I mean, if I would have lined that up a little bit better or pushed this back, and then you can have yourself a nice little flat road. And then on the other side, in the opposite direction, you could have another flexo, and then you can have, you know, more of these fields. You could even kind of offshoot this road going down and have windmills and bakeries and a granary, all kind of in this area, like really make unique looking farmlands that kind of incorporate the historical aspect and kind of incorporate the min-maxing aspect. So this is kind of the basis for a lot of neat design, but people have been asking me, like, what have you been doing? You can see right there that we can get this back up to a Burgage plot. So we're building out the second Burgage plot. So yeah, the shack is right here, but like, look at that. Look at that. That is a clean logistics right there. And then with the farming and the farmhouse right here, this is all beautiful. I mean, the benders still look pretty cool and all, but there's a lot to go with. But I just wanted to give people kind of a cool little overview of how they can spice up their game. Thank you guys for watching. I have a ton of videos. Check my channel out. I have a lot of Manor Lords content, a lot of other city builders. Everybody have a great day.